Painted Arrow Podcast. We have Devin Cole in the house. And today we're going to discuss the 2024-25
deer season.
Yeah, give me that again. That was like a
deer season.
Like a buck naked underwear.
Yeah, Duluth Trading.
Yeah.
Buck naked underwear.
Exactly.
That guy.
That guy. This is like a laying out of the expectations of the 2024-25.
A preview
fall.
of sorts, you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh, you're good. But it's been a minute since like you and I have been on a podcast
and chopped it up,
talked deer hunting.
Yeah.
We used to do that often. That's kind of how we started this whole thing.
Isn't it funny how life happens? You build a company and then you're like, man, I need to hunt more. I need to talk about deer a little more.
Yeah, it is. It is. So I want to hit people real quick. If you use the code podcast, emphasize the podcast on our website, promo code podcast, you will you'll receive 10% off your order.
What was that code?
Podcast. We're gonna probably have some clipping issues, and
yeah,
that's not gonna be good. But
Travel figured out.
Podcast.
Yeah.
So do that. PaintedArrowOutdoors.com. It is the perfect time to get you into a filming setup to take into the woods with you this fall. So yeah, so talk to me a little here. Like I think the last thing that people heard about was I was talking a little bit about my logging project. You were talking a little bit about your the watering hole you were putting in.
Oh yeah.
We were kind of doing some like land talk at some point, but like we haven't really talked about deer, and it's the 20th of September, and we're 10 days out, and we haven't really had the conversations that are, I think, appropriate and necessary.
Yeah.
For the listeners, because I don't know, like in years past, we've done a really good job. Here's what we got on camera. Here's kind of what we're doing. Here's the layout for the season.
Expectations, the whole thing.
So, do you want to go first? I think you should go first because I don't really know what I'm going to talk about yet.
Okay, yeah. Well, I am now, what do you think? Maybe I'm going to say a year and a half. Basically, I've got one full season on this property, my home property, the home farm, we'll call it. In 2022, I bought it and literally closed on it at the beginning of October. Yeah. Hunted out here 2 times that year. With you, we doubled up on November 4th. So basically, like, there wasn't anything to learn. I didn't get any sort of, high quantity of sits in to learn how the property worked or anything. That was kind of like a got here, shot a deer, woohoo. Last year was the first full year of really hunting it and having put in a food plot and made some changes in the off season. So, and I think I've kind of documented what those changes were, the food plot, the architecture, all of that. We've talked about that. But this is now I'm headed into my second like full year of like prep and going into the actual season where I'm going to get some sits in. And all that to say, I am seeing what I believe to be big changes in summer activity and how the deer are using my property. And I believe most of it to be a function of crop rotation. And I can't necessarily prove or disprove a lot of my theories yet because I didn't pay close enough attention in 2022, which would have been the more similar crop rotation to now. But basically, there's a lot of ag around me, but there's some ag that touches me directly on my back property line, essentially. And last year, when that was beans, I had a lot more summer activity, a lot more summer photos of bucks, and really deer in general. This year, that specific piece that touches me is corn, and a little bit farther away, there is 700 plus acres of beans. And so I think most of the deer a lot of the deer that I will end up seeing this fall have just been summering not on me, with no real reason to travel through or use my property with any sort of consistency. And so that's all a really complex way of telling you that I don't have what I would say are target deer on camera, even at this point, which is, what is this, September 20th. So I don't have a deer that I've gotten on camera here at the home farm where I'm like, man, he's on the list. I've gotten a couple bucks on camera, nobody consistent. And then to add on to what I was just talking about on crop rotation, the first half of the summer we had a crazy, crazy wet, like historically record-breaking wet year. The last month has been dry with less than a quarter inch of rain.
That's really interesting because it doesn't seem like it. And what I mean by that is we haven't had rain in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know that. But the month of May, June, July, statistically,
yeah,
like crazy, crazy wet year.
Right. I know that.
By like big multiples from what I understand. And so that yielded, in a lot of cases, from what I understand, like a bumper crop year for a lot of farmers.
Can I just, before we go on from this, because I just had a conversation with somebody from Wisconsin, they had the same thing to say. Record amount of moisture in the spring, to the point where it flooded.
That's what I was going to say. Like a lot of farmers around here, the stuff that drains well has done really well. The stuff that might be like clay, kind of lower or clay or whatever,
without tile,
like full on flooded out chunks of the field that are just nothing.
And then they had to replant, and then they didn't get the rain, and it's just not great.
Right. So,
but that's just interesting. You hear that from a hunter's perspective.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I haven't planted food plots a lot, and I'll get to my point, but like, it's just funny to hear for a lot of moisture in the spring, but for when deer hunters,
and even early summer. I mean, June and July were wet.
Yeah, and then
August, nothing through August, basically.
Yeah, so anybody planting a food plot kind of got mollywopped.
Yeah. Anyway, all that to tell you, the deer were not living on me to go just over the back property line over to the beans, because all that's corn, and there is a whole lot of beans that are, 3/4 of a mile to a mile, half mile, but just a little farther off. So there's no real reason for them to be using my property. Not to mention that 700-acre chunk of beans that I'm talking about was all planted late, and it is just now starting to turn a hint of yellow on September 20th.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other chunks that are in beans that have all already dried out, and they're picking them. But this specific 500-acre, 700-acre block of beans is, most of it's still green with just a hint of yellow. So the deer are living over there. We've seen them in the beans. We've glassed them. I have glassed some really, really nice deer, but definitely don't have anything on camera that is living tight and like, man, he's an early season buck that I'm going to go kill. Like if I end up killing an early season deer, I was telling you this morning, I think 7 to 10 days removed from right now, the beans are going to be at a point where these deer are like really interested in getting up and going and looking for something else. You'd think, and historically, like I've already seen deer at this point in the year looking for their fall range and moving a little bit, but I just think the timing this year, because of the beans being green for as long as they are, I think that first week of bow season, especially if it lines up with any level of a cold front, could be really interesting, because these deer are going to be fat and happy on these beans for longer than they normally would have been. And then if a cold snap hits at the right time, that first week of bow season could be interesting. But it isn't going to be like, hey, this buck is living right here and I'm going to go in and kill him. It's going to be a mystery buck that is just moving through to kind of check out fall ranges. So yeah, I have not been able to confirm that the buck that I was referring to as the King 8 out here has lived. Any of the deer out here specifically that I was interested in hunting again after last year, I haven't even confirmed if any of them are alive with the cameras.
Last time this year on this property, you were getting a lot of bucks on camera.
Right about this time, yeah. If I go back and look, so I have
pretty sure
Yeah, like
that
September
King 8 buck
20th.
that you were talking about. He was already on camera multiple times.
I looked at him. I had one photo of him during the summer, and that was about it. And then somewhere in September, I bet you it's right around right now, like September 20th, he showed up, and then he was sort of fairly regular, meaning like once a week or once every couple of days, I'd get a photo of him. The very first photo I had of that deer last year, because this is relevant information and sort of interesting. But yeah, I got a photo of him in July when he had a lot of growing left to do. And then I got a really cool up close and personal photo of him last
Remember
year.
that one?
That was back where literally where the beans were touching my property back there, just over the creek, and got a really good photo of him there. That would have been, yeah, that was July 22nd. And then I basically didn't see him from end of July through the first hard horn photo I got of him was September 21st. So today's the 20th. So last year I got a hard horn photo of him on the 21st.
Yeah, that's a cool deer. I think he potentially made it, don't you?
I just can't confirm. I mean, I know he was alive on the 13th of November. That was the last sighting I had of him on camera or saw him. So with the 15th being the opener of gun, I mean, he could have easily been dead.
Yeah.
It's hard telling. But yeah, he was all over on the 21st. You remember last year we had some weird cold snap that hit right September, and you and I were talking like, dude, my cameras are lighting up.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was right when that happened. So anyway, now is when I would expect them to start picking up. I've got cameras running. And it's kind of an any day type thing. We did. I actually. Sorry, you go ahead first, and then I have another point.
I didn't have anything good there.
So that's my home. That's my home farm. The other property that I hunt that I refer to on here is the Crickwoods. Is the property I grew up on, my parents' property. We've got with what we own and we have permission on, it's like a 40-some acre block. And the deer that I've been hunting for a couple years out there, pretty boy, missed him 2 years ago. Last year, you had an intimate encounter with him on the ground. You almost killed him. I believe him to be either a really good, he was either a really good 2-year-old or he was 3 the year that I missed him, which would have made him 3 or 4 last year, which makes him 4 or 5 this year. And I pulled a camera that had been running all season, and I had photos of him in January and February. So he made it. And I've got one photo that's like a corner of a rack that we think might be him in velvet this year, but we know that he made it through last year. So that's a deer I'm excited about catching up with, hopefully.
There was a podcast I just listened to, Wired to Hunt. I think he had Scheffler. What's his first name? Jared Scheffler.
Jared Scheffler, yeah.
He's with
Whitetail Adrenaline.
That's exactly who. Yeah. We met at the Harrisburg show. So anyway,
you met him out there?
Yeah. I went out, gave him a Trad Pro.
I didn't know you met him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, I'm listening to that, and he talked about, like, there was a scenario that he was running through, and he asked, like, what would you do if you're stalking in on a buck and he sees you? Did you listen to that?
Was it the one where he's like, I'm within 10 yards, and he's
like, freeze. That's what he said. He's like, freeze.
Oh, that scenario. Yeah.
He's like, freeze, and that buck, if he's with a doe, he'll
calm back down.
He'll end up calming back down. And I'm almost, because when I had that encounter with that buck, pretty boy, you just mentioned, like, I almost killed him real close.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
He was in there with
I'm creeping through the woods. We connect. I froze in broad daylight. And over 40 minutes, I convinced that deer that
you weren't a threat.
I wasn't a threat, and his doe
was more
of a priority than anything else in the area. And I just thought that was really interesting, thinking about that deer, especially the fact maybe it's because he's more of a dominant deer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but it just feels to me like that early in the season last year. I can't remember the day, but it was early. Or it was late October, I'm pretty sure.
It was late October, yeah.
And the fact that he was in there with, like, the first hot doe, Like, I don't know. I just feel like that deer's going to be back in there, like right in there.
He was living on our little chunk last year, like living on it. Like I
Yeah.
had photos of him coming out of a bedding area, real consistent. And then in September last year, kind of aligned with that cold snap I was talking about. You remember I got like in September, not even to October, I got photos of him like running bucks off in front of my camera with an entire small sapling stuck in his antlers, like he was just tearing shit apart.
Yeah.
And he rules the roost in there for sure. So I like to think he'll come back through there. You and I debated a lot on if I should get in there and plant a food plot. I didn't do it. I did it 2 years ago. I did not do it last year. And I said probably multiple times on a podcast that I was gonna this year based on how last year went. But just having not been in there for a full year and just having it left alone, I opted to just stay out.
I think that's the smartest thing.
So we'll see.
Especially for that deer. Like, that's really the only deer that you know of that's
Living right there.
potentially
Yeah, something I'm really interested in chasing.
like, he's going to be in there.
He'd be a huge deer. So that's a deer I'm excited about. But again,
Have you gotten anything from that? Have you checked those cameras recently? You don't have any cell cameras over there?
No, I have 2 cell cameras over there.
But none of them have been that deer.
No,
That's weird.
I know.
It's kind of like nerve-wracking.
I know.
But nothing in
The
there.
one in the back.
The one that
one
we
way in
hung
the
on
back.
that trail in the center of where the food plat is on that edge,
Yeah, that's the one I should have him on.
and he's not on there.
No, and that's the one that last year, every 2 to 3 days,
Every 2 to 3 days.
he'd come right by and you'd get beautiful photos of him coming out of the same bedding area on the same trail every single time.
Late September, right?
Mostly in October.
So there's still time, and that's all corn, right?
No, that's a huge development this year. They didn't plant everything to the west out there. They didn't plant it in corn or beans.
Just
It's
fallow field?
either it was either a fallow field or they did like some. It looks like wheat. Looks like cut wheat or something. It's just stubble now, but it's like real orangey,
This is a little bit different of a year.
weird year.
It's a weird year.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have nothing that I'm like fired up to go chase, but in a weird way,
You have peace.
I'm kind of romantic about that. Like I like the fact that I don't have this pressure and this deer that's like in there all the time that I have pressure on myself to go kill. I almost love the mystery of just going and getting in a tree, and if something gets me fired up, send an arrow.
Mhm.
Like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We've talked about that before, but cameras can be a blessing and a curse. And I'm just, if it happens and I get a really big deer on camera and he's, something I can start hunting, great. But I'm not going to put pressure on myself to not, I'm not going to worry. Like I have too much familiarity with both of these properties to worry if there's going to be a buck I'm interested in late October, November. Like I know there's going to be something out there to chase.
The cameras are taking a huge spotlight in the last couple of years and even right now. But I think the most valuable, I mean, for me personally, I'm speaking, the most valuable cameras is for, acquiring the
Just
targets.
Inventory, yeah.
Inventory, exactly. Like what we're, like this time frame right now.
Right. What's out there?
What is there to hunt? Like, we're not putting, we're not chasing pictures at this point, but like just knowing like what's in the area, like that's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome knowledge.
I've been watching some Bill Winke videos, and he's like, he just put his cameras out maybe like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in and checks them every 4 days. He doesn't have any cell cameras. He has SD card cameras. He goes in and checks them every 4 days is his thing. He wears his rubber waders so that he doesn't leave scent. He puts his cameras in a spot where he can literally drive to with the four-wheeler and not even have to get off the four-wheeler if he doesn't have to pull the card out. And he checks his cameras every 4 days, and that's how he gets his inventory every year. And he always puts them out, he said, like right at the beginning of September. Won't run a camera before that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing, completely off topic, but my mind just went there when you were talking. More of like a Michigan update. A lot of surrounding counties right now are getting hammered with EHD. I have multiple people texting me, "Hey, what's it like in your county? Because this county, that county, and this county got properties in all three that I'm hunting, and there are dead deer carcasses everywhere."
That's like a parasite, right?
I don't know specifically I don't know a lot about EHD. I just know that our buddy Seth on his 40-acre piece, like he's like, I can't even walk through the property without just smelling rotting deer everywhere. There's carcasses just everywhere.
That's really sad.
Yeah. So
anything else?
we can maybe go to this at the end, but there's a hunt that I'm really excited for this year.
Yeah. So we're going on an elk hunt.
We're going on an elk hunt.
So let me talk
You
about
go first,
some things.
and
we'll
then
wrap up with the elk hunt, and I want to talk about Moment Series.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, very similar to you. This year it's very similar. We live a similar life. I mean, you just started yours with that. I just bought a farm. Last year was the first full year.
Yeah.
Same thing. So I just bought a house.
Yeah, and a property.
That's we'll call it the home farm.
Yep.
70 acres, and it was all timber last year. Hunted it, shot a buck. Last year I was really like discouraged because the property that I came from was like night and day. I mean, just different.
Couldn't have been more different.
And I'd really kind of fallen in love with property 1 and this new property 2, we'll call it home farm, current home farm. It's all wooded. There's no glassing opportunities in terms of like, from afar, from the road, from your house, like just glassing your property. There's none of that for me. Very like not real close to any food really. I mean, kind of, but not like destination food sources. And, everybody I think that's been following along knows we've been doing this ginormous logging project. We took 709 trees out of our property. So if you're good at math, you got 70 acres, there's 709 trees taken out. That's 10
trees an acre.
That's 10 trees an acre. So that's, I mean, talk about a big change. I mean, I think we cleared 4 or 5 acres, 4 acres.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wasn't an evenly distributed like select cut. You clear cut some pockets and then select cut other areas for money trees, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And the intent is from 3 years from now, right? All these areas that we did cut, not the clearings, not the food plot clearings, but like the areas that we cut heavily into the timber. Like the idea is that it's gonna thicken up, right?
Right.
The 3 to 5 year plan is that gets real thick. It's real attractive to deer, and there's just deer piled in there. So really this year, I mean, I've had some time to get in there and like clear travel routes because all these tops are just everywhere.
Right.
The woods is a mess. It's a disaster. I mean, if you knew what it looked like and then you're driving through there, it's stressful because of how messy it looks. And you're wondering like, how are the deer gonna maneuver this? I know they will. I'm not saying that the deer aren't gonna use it. Like it's hard for somebody to imagine how to hunt it.
Right.
Because one guy can't get in there and clear 70 acres worth of deer trails.
Yeah.
And set up. It's just impossible. I've not been able to really tackle it all. And we kind of finished this all kind of towards the end of the summer. So as September kind of got here, late August, I kind of been just slowly easing back off the amount of pressure that I'm putting on the property and in hopes that deer will just kind of make that home, right? So the food plots I've put in, like, we did talk about this, but 4 acres you're a farmer.
That's a field.
Like you're farming.
Yeah.
You're not just going down to the Tractor Supply and buying a jug of something and just last minute. It's like
more
so much more.
Yeah.
It's so much more. It's wear and tear on the equipment. It's time.
That's just clearing, mowing, planting that much ground takes more time.
So this might sound funny, but I'm thinking of ways like, should I plant switchgrass? Should I put in trees, different species of trees like conifers into some of this field areas to give it edge. I definitely need to segment some of this off, put some miscanthus and
for sure,
because it's just too open.
Right.
I wanted this. This is not something I didn't plan for.
Created a blank canvas.
Exactly. So I'm thinking about that. I did hang some tree stands, but all the trees are smaller. Like there's just not a lot of big trees in there anymore. It's just I don't know, man. I don't know anybody who's done this. So it's not like I can go say, hey, cousin Joey, you got 70 acres that you cut back in the 60s. What was the deer hunting? Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect this year. Last year, in the middle of August, I had a sick bachelor group walking through the woods on the main trails, and I had cameras on the main trails, and this bachelor group hit 2 or 3 cameras, like the same group on the same day, like one day, and there was a really beautiful big buck in velvet that I got on camera on all 3 of those cameras. And this year, same kind of thing, but it was like a deer. I got like a really nice deer,
A really nice deer.
like a really nice buck, randomly on a random August day, just randomly going through and hit a couple of my cameras. And I'm starting to, I checked some of the bucks from that last bachelor group last year and see if, like, I think it might have been one of the same deer. I do.
Correct me.
Because there's just like that's for that caliber of deer. There had to be something last year.
And correct me if I'm wrong, though. After having pulled other cameras, you've found him on a couple other days, still close in proximity to those days, but it wasn't just a day. This
2
time,
days.
I thought it was 3.
No, it was 2 days so far.
Okay.
2 days. Totally different locations, but on one day he hit a couple, but I haven't seen him since. Which doesn't mean like I'm not.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. So that's like that's like a little piece of like a hope that I'm holding on to, because that would be,
Yeah.
that's what I got. I don't have any. I mean, everything. It's crazy because like every other deer that has antlers is like a dinker.
Yeah.
Like a little.
Yeah.
Like something like that over on the wall. Like
Yeah.
every other one but that one. So it's really weird. Like I don't
know. There's one other deer in that farther back spot that was a good one, to the point where we thought it might have been the same deer, and it wasn't.
He was. I don't know.
It wasn't a dinker though.
It wasn't a dinker.
There's 2 deer.
I just don't have any faith that, just based on last year, again, totally different year. Everything's different. There's nothing I can sit here and tell you for certain, but it's just like based on my experience, like I don't have really any hope of seeing those deer again.
You also had people in the property for like months at a time, every day.
Oh yeah.
Which is surprising to me that there's any decent deer in there. So I think, I feel like I've seen this movie before. Meaning, timber, put some kill plots in next to some timber. You know the caliber of deer in the area.
Yeah.
I don't share your skepticism. I'm not going to be surprised when you get that deer on camera again, and I'm not going to be surprised when you call me and say I just had an encounter with him or a better deer. I'm just not.
No, I know. I hear you. I really do. It's something about when things don't make sense.
Yeah.
That's when things happen. It seems like to me. Like that doesn't make any sense. How could that happen?
No.
So that's why I'm like, I'm not looking at this as like a.
I actually was thinking about that deer.
Biological aspect. I'm looking at this like it's fate kind of thing. That hopefully to this year is going to be a better year than last.
We can talk offline, but I have some thoughts on that deer and specifically where I think you should go and when.
I love
off
that.
of the very limited info that you have at this point.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned at the end of your recap, but like I have zero stress or like whatever you want to call it. I know some people really like. I'm just like an open book this year. Like I'm gonna hunt it the same way I did last year. I'm gonna saddle hunt quite a bit, popping around different trees, and I'm just gonna have fun with it.
I kind of, in a weird way, and then I'll use this to transition. I've always felt like this quiet pressure to fill my 2 buck tags. And I don't know where the pressure comes from, probably myself, but like whether or not I filled my 2 tags, that at some level was how I measured my success. Got to put 2 deer in the freezer because I got 2 tags, and that's it. This year, I'm coming into this season with a whole bunch of meat still in the freezer that I need, that I'm going to start sharing with other people and giving away essentially. But I'm really excited for this elk hunt we're about to go on.
Yeah.
And when we kill a couple elk, like there's just not going to be pressure to kill a deer. Meaning like got to put meat in the freezer. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just really excited about this elk hunt. Like really, really excited about this elk hunt.
So break that down real quick. So long story short, we were at the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Great American Outdoor Show.
Yep.
We meet a couple of boys, young boys, 6, 7 years old.
Tilden and Torin.
They had cowboy hats on, blonde hair, cutest thing you could ever see, but they were like young men.
Right. Like maybe I think 8 and 10 or maybe 10 and 12 years old, something like that.
I said, "Hey, what do you boys do?" And they said, "We're
an outfitter.
We're an outfitter." Okay, what state? And they started asking questions. They had all the answers. How many points do you need? What units? Everything.
Yeah.
Is it wilderness area? Like, how many miles? Like, they knew everything that I asked them.
Rattled it off.
I said, "Bring me back a card." About 20 minutes goes by. These boys come back, bring us a card. We're like, "Oh, we'll come down and see you." Went down and see them. We ended up booking a hunt. Simple as that.
A little bit deeper than that too. Like the guide hall was like a freaking half mile from where we were.
Yeah, if you've never been to this show,
these boys
big.
went way out of the way and went and got a card and brought it back to you because you asked them to.
Yeah.
And you and I were sitting there and we're like, at this point, we're both new fathers, right? So we're like, golly, I just want to go talk to their pop and tell him how impressive his boys were.
Mm-hmm.
Like they shook your hand firm. They had all the answers. Yes, sir. Eye contact, everything. Just how you want to raise your boy. So we were like, we need to go down there and just shake this guy's hand and see what's up. And we booked hunt.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to Colorado. First rifle.
So I'm not going to be one of the hunters though.
Right. Which you were
I was originally.
Yeah,
I'm in. I had a dream. This is not a lie. I had a dream that my dad died and he never shot an elk. I woke up the next morning. I called my dad. I said, "Hey, will you go elk hunting if I pay for everything and all you got to do is get in shape, break in your boots, and shoot a gun a couple times? Like, would you be the guy to pull the trigger because it'd mean a lot to me?" He said, "Yeah." So I am not hunting. You're hunting.
Yep.
My brother's coming, so it's going to be the 4 of us. And this is different than what we've ever done because
just to clarify, Papa Hicks.
Yep.
You.
Yep.
Your brother.
Yes, sir.
And me.
That's right.
Group of 4.
It's going to be a hell of a time.
It's going to be a hell of a time.
So
yeah.
The reason that this is different though than what we've ever done, we've always done the DIY, pick a spot on the map,
wilderness, everything on your back.
Bring it in on your backpack and like huff it.
Yeah.
Just raw dog, straight, just
brutal. As brutal as it can be.
Death marches.
Yeah, exactly.
Death marches up into the mountains, 5 to 7 miles. Yep. That's what we've always done. But this time, it's a hybrid.
All right, it is not a guided hunt.
So they already have like a tent up in the mountains.
What do they call it? A drop camp hunt.
Yeah,
that's how they refer to it.
So they put you on some horseback. They put all your gear on horseback. You go up in the mountains
to this tent they have set up for you at camp.
That's right. And they drop you off. They give you a latrine. They give you a wood burning stove. They give you
some firewood and a splitting maul.
So it's kind of like it's kind of glamping. Like
yeah, but it's like they're just like, but they make it sound like drop you off and give us a holler when you got one down.
Yeah,
see ya.
It's basically what they do, but it's cool. Like,
and it's out in the middle of wilderness area.
Just from the lens of me coming back from this Utah deer hunt, like mule deer hunt, you spend 40% of your day trying to survive
and energy.
That's what I'm saying. Like 40% of everything is spent just trying to live, and it's not that it's not fun because that is very fun, but in terms of like killing, especially when you got 5 days, you're really only hunting like 3 days.
Yeah.
When you really do all the math.
Yeah.
What do I got? Something on my neck?
Yeah, you got a fly right there.
On my neck?
Right on your shoulder now. He moved. He's right there.
Sons of guns. So it's just I'm pretty excited because I'm not there's no pressure on me. I'm gonna get to hopefully see my dad shooting out his first elk. You as well.
Yeah.
Like I've had the beautiful pleasure of shooting one, and it's just cool. I mean, it's just a different thing
in a weird way. So I first went elk hunting with you, and I did not draw a tag. I just went with you to just share the misery, basically, and get a little exposure to elk hunting. And gosh, that was a handful of years ago now.
19, 18.
That was 2019. Yeah, well done. And then in 2020. year later, I went back again with myself and a couple other friends for archery. Was not successful in terms of harvesting an elk.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be my second time out chasing elk, but hadn't gotten one. You and I went to Wyoming on a mule deer hunt, had an up-close encounter, like intimate encounter with a 300-inch plus bull elk. We were there from a mule deer. So that was like my next experience, like in the field with elk. All this to say, I'm excited to hopefully finally harvest my first elk.
I think you will.
So it is a first rifle hunt in the flat tops.
The 12th through the 15th.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot
12th to the 16th.
There's going to be a lot of content coming from that. I'm going to be a cameraman on that entire hunt, which I'm kind of excited about because like I've heard people talk about this, but I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty good idea of what I need to capture and when and what position I need to be in. And I'm going to try and do this all with our products, which I'm just like
iPhones.
Like I have a task.
You do. You have a job.
I have like a legitimate job, and that's to bring you guys
a documentary.
Like it's so fun, man.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we get to do this. But I think we're gonna do a podcast on the way out. We're gonna get all the boys. I can't wait to get Al, my dad, and you on a podcast. That's gonna be a
so
riot.
Fun. The reason this is a little different too, like I have not ever gone down the rabbit hole of like nerding out about rifles and rifle hunting. Like the only rifle hunting I've done, really gun hunting, is around here in Michigan growing up, shooting whitetail deer. And as of late, in the last handful of years, I do way more bow hunting than anything. If I can be tagged out before gun season gets here, I love that. And so I went mule deer hunting with you, and that was a rifle hunt. Actually just took like a hand-me-down 30-06 from my grandfather on that hunt. But this specifically, I ended up kind of like nerding out on the whole rifle thing. Got a new rifle, have been shooting. Like it's a whole different thing that's new in a way. That's part of why I'm so excited and interested in it is like this whole thing is new.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been so fun to go and sight this rifle in and, pick out the scope and, go buy the rifle and get all the gear around and just, I don't know. It's just different. I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, and just again, from my point of view, like every hunt that I've ever gone on that requires me to drive 20 plus hours, like I'm preparing for battle.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm preparing for battle. I feel like I'm preparing for, I don't know.
There's no pressure for you at all.
Like I'm just ready. Like there is, because I really want to have my dad shoot some, but like it's just a different type of hunt.
Yeah.
It's just a different type of hunt. So that's really cool. That's going to be fun.
Yeah. So they'll take us in the day before season on the horses, which I think what you just said about preparing for battle, like we're limited on time off. So you get in the truck and we drive 20 straight, get to the trailhead, put all of the gear on you and hike as far as you physically can until you fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then keep going. So like, but that's not the most efficient way to do it, to then be in the best physical condition the next day to go kill.
Yeah.
So like the idea that, I mean, it's still going to be a brutal drive and all that, but like you get there and they'll get us up there and get us ready to go kill. You know what I mean? Like that part's going to be different.
Yeah.
Get on a horse. We'll get you there, boys.
I hope my horse's name is Duke.
Yeah.
I think yours is going to be named like Poncho.
Mm-hmm.
Al's horse is going to be named like Buckus, and
Rufus.
Jeff's horse is going to be named like Duchess.
Jeff's horse is going to be like Mac. Like,
yeah. Like a Cummins diesel to get him up
Mac
the mountain.
truck. Yeah.
So
that's it, man. I love that I don't have 7 deer that are 3 deer that I just named that I'm on a hit list for.
Yeah.
Or that like I almost love that. And we'll continue to do updates. Like I'm checking cameras and I fully expect that like any minute these deer are gonna funnel into this area because that's just how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But right now it's just they're going to be out there. They're not out there right now. And when I go out there, if something gets me excited, I'm going to shoot it.
So what about the Moment Series?
Yeah, so we've done that the last couple years here. 2 or 3 years.
This will be our third.
You sure?
Might be our fourth.
I think it might be our fourth. I think we did kind of a quasi Moment Series 3 years ago, which would make this the fourth. But I think
So what is the Moment Series?
the Moment Series is where we save up our vacation time throughout the year, and we take 3, 4, 5 day chunk where we can, and we try to basically both go into that week with at least one tag in our pocket still, and the goal is to get it done. Like it's been like this series where we're doing, rut updates, kind of documenting what the deer are doing live time updates on Instagram story and podcasts and all of that. But really it's to just represent or emulate that guy that maybe he's got a really demanding full-time job. He's got kids. He doesn't get a ton of time to hunt other than maybe the handful of vacation days that he saves up. And it's gotta get it done during that chunk of time. And so
Have we selected the dates for that this year?
I don't think so. But in a way, it's kind of like a way for us to put pressure on ourselves to, okay, these are the dates and go on your mark, set, go, get it done.
Do you know what's been fun though? Is like, I don't know if you remember this or not, but in the last 2 to 3 years that we've done this, we've always picked different dates.
Well, it's because it always falls a little different.
No, but we've always first or second week of November.
There's 2 weeks that look. There's 2.
What if we do 28, 29, 30, 31, and 1? That's where I want to be.
I like that one. But, dude, November 4th through the 8th? How do you break? How do you not do that?
How do you not do that?
And then look at the third week this year, 11 through 15.
My
goal
opening
day
is on Friday.
Of gun season's on a Friday.
A lot of deer are gonna die.
That week is gonna. I've probably had the best rut action, some of my most memorable, best hunts on November 13th. That day for me is just the day.
My handful of days have always been 1 through like 5.
See, maybe it's the properties I'm hunting, but early November is so hit or miss for me. The last week of October is hot. That first week of November is hit or miss for me. And then like where you start to get.
Do you remember November 1st last year?
November 8, 9, 10 through 13 for me is like usually that's it.
November 1st last year. Do you remember it? We had a fresh blanket of white snow.
I was at work.
You should not have been at work.
I was at work and you called me and you had killed.
But
I killed on the 26th.
That was like, I mean, picture perfect day. I mean, fresh blanket of snow.
Yeah.
Cold. Like
cold.
Like what?
November 1.
What?
I really want to shoot a Halloween buck though.
No, I know that's like, I don't think you know it, but that's been on my list. Like if you told me what's one day this year, like it is Halloween. I've had really good encounters the last 2 years and not just couldn't get it done.
But we're going to be traveling too. When's that?
What do you mean, not in October?
Yeah, where we got some trips we're going on. I mean, we got the elk trip. We'll be back, but
I think it's
right after we get back, we're going to Dallas or something. You said
it's not on this calendar.
Yeah, me either. So we'll have to look at that.
We're going to be going to Fort Worth.
Or not Dallas, yeah. That last week of October into the first week of November looks good, but we need to maybe just kind of wait because as we get closer to that, like let's say that week.
You don't want to tell the people when we're doing the Moment Series.
No, I do.
Not I'm saying you want to wait until we get closer to the season.
Yeah, because of the weather. Like what if that week, although the dates look sweet, is crazy hot and then a cold front is hitting 4 through 8?
Well, yeah. So like a big part of this too is like we're trying to do live time podcasts. We're trying to like pump media during that week.
Yeah.
We're on the story, like giving you guys every bit of juice that we can to make you feel like you're right there.
Right there with us, yeah. And we probably haven't announced this, but we have an initiative to get Trav his first bow kill this year.
Yeah. Yeah, Trav's going to kill this year.
Media Trav has a bow in hand for the first time since he was, I'm going to say 12 years old. 12 years old. And yeah, we're going to document what that looks like
Yeah.
for him to get back in the saddle.
The saddle. Get back on the horse again.
We got to get Trav his first buck with a bow. Have you shot a buck with a bow, Trav? Okay, first buck with a bow. That's what we're doing.
We're gonna have to get a marker out and go to the calendar, I think, after this ends.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, stay tuned. And if we don't give you, we might give you tentative dates, because honestly, if we pick a week and then it's going to be 70 degrees, but the week later is going to be perfect weather, well, I'm calling it audible.
Everything starts right here. From here on out, everything gets good. I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna be having a lot of cool podcasts coming up about the elk hunt. A lot of cool podcasts coming about the Moment series. We got a breakdown with Trav. We got a lot of travel ahead of us. Everything starts basically. We're going to blink and it's going to be Thanksgiving. And all of a sudden we're going to be traveling and doing the whole show series again. And it's going to be like, it starts right now.
It really does.
Like, we're not slowing down. This is where it revs up. So I hope you guys are excited to kind of follow us along and just be along for the ride.
Let's just deer hunt, just a deer hunt. You know what I mean? Like that. So
That's a t-shirt.
we've kind of had a theme the last handful of years, and I think last year I'd have to go back, but I'm pretty sure I said it was execute. Like, the stage is set, and this year, in that moment, I want to execute. For me, this year, my theme is just have fun.
Yeah.
Like, legit, just go out and go deer hunting because I want to.
Turn and burn.
Just have fun. Take the seriousness out of it.
Hang and bang.
Hang and bang.
Shoot and
scoot. Yeah.
Shoot and scoot boogie.
Okay.
All right, guys. Catch you in the next one.
See ya.